Hello everyone, this is Mikey Garcia.
Yo, it's your boy, the odd guy himself, Malik King Scott.
Hi, I'm Charlie Edwards.
This is Fast Eddie Chambers, and you're listening to the BoxHard Podcast with my main man, Joey Coastman.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 17 of the BoxHard Podcast. Number 17 now, really climbing through the numbers. I'm your host, Joey Coastman. I'm joined, as always, by Mr. Ayaz Sumra. Ayaz, welcome to the show, and how are you doing?
I'm good, Joey. How are you?
Very good, very good. Unfortunately, listeners, we are not joined this week by Sofia Di Stefano. She unfortunately had other commitments. She couldn't be on this week's show. She'll be back next week, no problem. We're going to keep it simple. As always, there's part one and part two. Part one being the review part where we review the fights from last week. We will also speak to James DeGale's trainer, Jimmy Mack Jr., of course, son of Jimmy Mack, Jim McDonnell, of course. And in part two, we will preview the fights coming up this weekend, the Copper Box show, of course, and we'll be speaking to one of the guys on that bill, Ben Hall, which is a very nice interview. It's a very nice interview. He sort of talks a lot about his career thus far, a couple of other things, a couple of other fights, a couple of other fighters. It's very interesting, that one. We're going to get straight down into it, Ayaz. I think we should start on the weekend with the big clash in America. What do you think?
Let's talk about the Danny Garcia versus Robert Guerrero fight.
Yeah, definitely. We're going to start with that one. Of course, there's nowhere else to really start. Danny Garcia, again, he didn't start quick. You know, I don't think he's a quick starter. I think Robert Guerrero racked up the first few rounds, to be honest. I think he was impressing me, actually, when the fight started. Me and you both said that we thought that Danny Garcia were going to win by knockout, but we were wrong. Robert Guerrero sort of done what he does. He roughs it up. Someone pointed something out on Twitter, how Robert Guerrero got to where he is by boxing, and I don't know why he's deciding to neglect all of his boxing skills and just turn every fight into a brawl these days. I think I sort of agree with that, to be totally honest. He's trying to turn these fights into a brawl. I don't think Danny Garcia is a fantastic boxer. He's a good boxer, but I don't think he's a fantastic boxer. I think he relies a lot on the big punches and, of course, that monstrous left hook. He didn't look very good, Danny Garcia, I must admit. A lot of guys were in the house ringside. Of course, Amir Khan's wife, Floyd Mayweather, countless others. James DeGale was in attendance, and also I think Eddie Murphy was there as well. Really strange. Of course, Danny Garcia now 32-0, unbeaten, and Robert Guerrero 33 wins, 4 losses and 1 draw. This again was, of course, for the vacant WBC World Welterweight title, the one that has been relinquished by Floyd Mayweather. So Danny Garcia picks up another world title. On the undercard, again, I would just say that was unanimous decision in favour of Danny Garcia. On the undercard, Sammy Vasquez fought Aaron Martinez. Sammy Vasquez moved to 21-0. Aaron Martinez retired at the end of round 6. Martinez injured his left arm and he didn't come out. It was very strange because they only televised 3 fights live. I was watching this on Box Nation. They only televised 3 fights. Of course, it was the 2 fights before the main event. So the Sammy Vasquez fight, his opponent retired. And then, underneath that one, the first fight on the night was Dominic Breazeale, the heavyweight, unbeaten in 16 contests. He fought Amir Mansour, and Mansour, he retired after 5 rounds. It didn't really look like there was something straight away obviously wrong with him. Breazeale was actually down in round 3, and Mansour didn't come out for round 6. I'm not too sure what happened. I think he may have fractured something. I'm not too sure. But Dominic Breazeale, who looked to be in quite a lot of trouble by Amir Mansour, he now picks up a win. So 17-0 for Dominic Breazeale. A lot of people were just a bit disappointed. 2 of the undercard fights, both of the fighters seeming to go back in the corner and just not come out, for the next round. It was pretty strange. A lot of people didn't like that. Dominic Breazeale, again, he didn't look very impressive. Amir Mansour didn't look very impressive in the 5th round because it was only scheduled for 10. But by round 5, they were both absolutely gassed to hell. They were so gone. It makes you wonder how brilliant they are because, if they were in there with some other stiff tests in America, of course, Eddie Chambers, someone like that, I'm with Eddie Chambers confidently on fights like that, or anyone, to be totally honest, not just Eddie Chambers. They just didn't look very good. And Amir Monsieur, I think he's 43 or something like that. Dominic Brazil shouldn't be having life and death with someone who's 43. Yeah, that's really it for the Staples Center. That's really it for that card in Los Angeles. Where do we see Danny Garcia go from here, Ayaz? Because he just seems to have a few fights where he's just not impressing, to be totally honest. I mean, I'm not really on that hype train. I'm really not. What sort of fights do you see Danny Garcia in? I know that Amir Khan is now the mandatory for that title, I believe. Is that a fight you think's going to happen?
See, I'm not quite sure. We know that Amir Khan is a WBC mandatory challenger for Danny Garcia's title, but hasn't Angel Garcia said we don't want to take that rematch already?
To be honest, I'm not too sure.
Because he's been saying that a lot right here about and that they don't want to fight Khan and they want to fight other people. Now, if Danny Garcia is going to fight another fight, who's there to fight? Unification with Kell Brook?
Well, yeah, this is it, because if Danny Garcia decides, and in fact, it does ring a bell, actually. Angel Garcia, of course, the dad and trainer of Danny Garcia, he said, no, we're not giving Khan a rematch. No, we're not giving Mauricio Herrera a rematch. We're not going to be doing that. We're moving on. We don't believe in rematches. We're moving on to bigger and better things. So that's interesting. We can't moan at that. We do want to see Danny Garcia in these bigger and better fights, if you like. I'm not saying that those fights aren't bigger and better fights. I'm just saying we do want to see him in there with some tough opposition, because, to be honest, in my opinion, he's lost one or two of his fights, and he's been very lucky to keep his O and stay unbeaten. If he doesn't fight Amir Khan and Amir Khan's left without that opponent, where does Amir Khan go? I saw an interview with Eddie Hearn this week where he was explaining, look, at the end of the day, Danny Garcia fights Amir Khan. Amir Khan's going to make this much money. If he fights Kell Brook, he's going to make double that money. And also, Danny Garcia, that fight's obviously going to take place in America. Danny Garcia might decide that he's not even going to give Amir Khan, half of what we're going to give him for fighting Kell Brook. And plus, he's already lost to him. He's already been knocked out by him. And it just sort of, the way he says it, and he's got a real way with words, Eddie Hearn, but the way he says it, it's almost like, what's wrong with the Khan team? They should be taking this fight. But of course, I know that's a fight that you're eager to see, Ayaz.
That's one fight I really want to see. Now, the thing is, in my opinion, I reckon Khan is going to chase that Danny Garcia fight. And yeah. I reckon he's going to try to win that WBC belt and then fight Kell Brook for unification and then do a Battle of Britain.
Yeah, I know that he's he's demanding, from what I'm being told. I'm not, I don't really know the ins and outs, but apparently he's demanding, all this money and this share of the split. And again, Kell Brook, he's the world champion. Amir Khan's the bigger name, and Amir Khan, he wants X amount of the split, and I think that Eddie Hearn and the team are prepared to give him a higher split, but I just don't think they want to give it as high as what Khan wants basically. We're gonna leave that big discussion there. We're gonna move over to just one fight that took place in Samoa. Joseph Parker topped the bill. He fought Jason Bergman. Joseph Parker picked up the TKO in round 8. He now moves to 18-0. His opponent, Jason Bergman, was down in the 2nd round, down in the 7th round, and down in the 8th round. After the fight, Joseph Parker has also now called out Anthony Joshua. That's a fight that apparently we could see happen at the back end of this year, I believe. That'd be really interesting. I do love two prospects getting together and one of them coming out victorious and one of them losing their O. That is, I'd like to see that. Not all the time in the country, because I want our countrymen, our country boxers to do well. That's what I like. I'm not really a great fan of Anthony Joshua versus Dillian White. One of them's gonna, go down in the dumps and the other one's going to go straight to the top. I don't really like pitting them against each other if they're both from Great Britain. I want the Great Britain boxers to do well. But when it's a different country, Joseph Parker, of course, not a Brit, I like to see those type of fights. And if Parker can beat Joshua, then, absolutely fantastic for him. I'm a big fan of Parker. But I like those type of fights. It's really good, a real good crossways type of fight. that should be interesting if that does happen. I really do hope so. And now we're going to move over, of course, to York Hall. There was a show over there. Ryan Walsh, he moved to 20 wins, his 20th career win, 1 draw and 1 loss. He picked up a TKO in round 5 over Darren Trainer. Darren Trainer was unbeaten. His new record, 11 wins and 1 loss. That 1 loss to Ryan Walsh. Trainer, he was cut above the right eye in the 3rd round. He was down prior to the stoppage as well. Amit Patterson, again, he's really racking up some wins at the moment. He moves to 17-0. He picked up a TKO in the 6th round. Ryan Aston, his opponent. And this was also for the vacant IBF International Super Welterweight title. So that's a new belt held by Amit Patterson. Aston was down once in the 5th round and twice in the 6th. Louis Petit was also on the bill. He picked up his 18th professional win. His new record now 18-2 with a TKO in 4 rounds. I think that's really it. Because there wasn't much that went on this week, to be totally honest. We're going to move over to a couple of bits of news that we're going to bring you. Ayaz, bring us the news for this week.
This week's news: Joseph Parker has called out Anthony Joshua for a big fight.
Yeah, absolutely. Something I touched on a minute ago, but yeah, sorry. Thanks for reminding me of that. And is there any other news?
Yeah, Martin Murray is keen to set up a domestic clash with world super-middleweight challenger George Groves.
Yeah, that will be interesting. I would like to see that. That's a really good fight, actually. That's a really good fight. Both guys have come very close to winning a world title, especially in Martin Murray's case, to be totally honest. He's been really close. He's had 4 world title shots. All of them come up short. George Groves, 3 world title shots. All of them come up short. So that should be really good. And the winner possibly fights, gets another chance. Could you imagine if Martin Murray got a 5th world title shot? It would just be crazy. But yeah, good luck to both boys. It would be a shame again for one of those to lose, but that's the game that we're in. And it should be interesting if that does get made. That's a big if. Is there any more news, or is that it, Ayaz?
Also, David Hayes' comeback will continue on March 21st at London O2 Arena, but there's no opponent yet to be confirmed.
Right, yeah, that's right. Tickets went on sale today. O2 priority customers only. I think that they're on general sale tomorrow, maybe the next day. I'm not too sure. Don't hold me to that. But yeah, no opponent been announced, but I can already see that people are buying ringside tickets. I think ringside tickets that are available on O2 priority are maximum £400, but I believe they go up to £1,200 for some of the ringside seats. So, it just goes to show again the pulling power of David Hay. He hasn't even announced his opponent, and he's already selling tickets for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, and in some case thousands. So massive things for David Hay. And the last piece of news I'm going to bring you before we bring on our first guest and wrap up part 1 is Barry Jones, the former WBO super featherweight champion of the world, has had a baby boy. So very, very massive congratulations to Barry Jones on that. I've already sent him a WhatsApp text, but again, I thought I'd say it on the show. Okay, we're now going to welcome our first guest. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome trainer of James DeGale, Mr. Jimmy Mack Jr.
Oh, mate, thanks for having me on.
No problem. Now, just for those that sort of, you've just sort of broke on the scene big time. For those people that aren't too sure what fighters you look after, could you just tell us the names that you're looking after right now?
Yeah, I work with my dad, and we've got fighters. Obviously, James DeGale's top of the tree, and we've got a few other young boys coming through now. We've got Jake Ball, Reece Bellotti, Louis Adolphi, and Kurt Garvey on our books at the moment, and there'll be a few more joining soon too.
Okay, I want to start with a couple of fighters that are on the bill this weekend. Of course, you got, I think, is it 2 fighters on this bill?
Yeah, we've got 2 fighters on this weekend. The fights are being shown live on Sky. We've got
Absolutely.
Reece Bellotti's having his first 8-rounder. And we've got Louis Adolphi making his matchroom debut over 4 rounds.
Absolutely. Now, I know that Adolphi's in there with William Warburton. William Warburton, we've seen him sort of, he's very, very awkward. We see him beat Georgie Keane, the Frank Warren prospect. I think it was 2014, early 2014. So this is a pretty tough test for Adolphe, actually. I know he's only 3 fights into his career, but how do you see this one going for him? Of course, it's only a 4-rounder, but you know, William Warburton's definitely someone you can't really look over.
Yeah, William Warburton, he's tricky. He's very tall, very gangly, and he can pose problems. Like if you let him, he springs a few upsets in. But the way Louis been training, the way he's been looking, and that, I'm pretty confident that you know, he'll look good on Saturday, and get his matchroom career up and running. And he's just really looking forward to boxing. It's been a long time since his last fight. So, he's just he's raring to go. He really is.
Now I'm going to move over to Reece Bellotti again. As you said, he's in his first 8-rounder. 4 fights, 4 wins, 3 by knockout. Out of all the prospects you're looking after, at the start of the show, you named them. You got quite a lot of prospects. Would you say Reece Bellotti's shining the brightest at this moment in time?
Well, he's had out of the young crop coming through. I think he's 1 or 2 fights ahead of the others. So he is paving the way at the moment. He's looking really good, and for a featherweight, he really, really punches hard. So he's going to be an handful for anyone in the 9-stone division in Britain. And right now it's a shame really, because he was supposed to be fighting Guy Davis from Wales, who's a good fighter. He's had over 30 professional fights, and it would have gone a few rounds, but just everything he hits, he destroys. He really can bang.
And also, I want to talk a little bit about Jake Bull. Jake Bull, 3 fights, 3 wins, all 3 by knockout. When are we going to look to see him out next? When will he next be out fighting?
Jake Bull will be boxing on March the 5th in Birmingham on the undercard of the Bradley Skeet and Sam Egginton show, which will also be live on Sky. So he's got his last 6-rounder and in Birmingham, and then I think the one after that he'll be moving to 8 rounds as well. So he's in the gym training.
Excellent stuff. I also just wanted to touch on Kirk Garvey. Now, Kirk Garvey, 3 wins in 3 contests. So all of your prospects coming through, all unbeaten at the moment. Ironically enough, the only fighter that you look after with a loss on his record is the world champion, James DeGale.
Would we call it a loss? We call it a decision.
I want to talk about James. I want to just mention something about Kirk Garvey. When will we likely see him out again? I know that, of course, he's 6'3", light heavy. He's very tall for his weight. Will we see him stick around at light? Lump. Will we see him stick at light heavy for a while, or will he be moving up to cruiser?
Nah, he'll be campaigning at light heavyweight. He's big for the weight. He is big, but he's just funny enough. We've got nothing lined up at the moment for Kirk. We're just waiting to get something like rubber stamped. We're just trying to get him up and running. But once he gets a bit of activity, I'm sure, he'll be a force in the light heavyweight division as well. But he's a true light heavyweight.
Excellent stuff. It's a really good thing that all these youngsters coming through that you look after are all getting exposure, sort of thing, finally on Sky Sports. So that's really good for all of them.
It's massive.
I just wanted to move over now to James DeGale. I wanted to talk a few things about him. Of course, in your father's career, obviously you train alongside your father. You bring these fighters through. In your father's career, the only thing he seemed to not do was win a world title. He got so close, but he just couldn't capture it. And because of his really close-knit relationship with James DeGale, watching James DeGale capture the world title, it was almost like your father, Jim, doing it through DeGale. So how much did that mean just to yourself and the whole camp?
Oh, it was absolutely massive. To go, obviously, when James became mandatory challenger for the world title, Carl Froch was the champion at the time, and obviously that fight never materialised. And in the end, we thought, we was under the illusion that the fight was going to be in London. Obviously that weren't the case. We had to go to America. So for one, you feel like you're up against it when you're going to America, and 2, to go and fight a fighter like Andre Durrell in his own backyard, you've got to think anything close. Are we going to get it? But you know, he went out there. James was absolutely buzzing that it was out there. He was thriving in it, and he obviously went out there, won a unanimous decision, convincingly, and it was just probably it was the best night of my life so far. Right, and I think for my dad, it was his proudest night so far in boxing as well. It really did mean the world. It was unbelievable.
What did you think when James DeGale threw that overhand punch that took knocked Dirrell down in the second round? What was going through your head at that point?
Oh, I was just thinking, please, just don't get up. Just stay down. But you know, full credit to him. He managed to get himself up and get through the round because he got put down again. And when he walked back to his corner, I thought this is over here. But credit to him, it just shows you the shape he was in to get up and to carry on boxing. Full credit to him. It was unbelievable.
And I just wanted to also sort of mention, because like I say, you sort of have burst on the scene all recently. How long have you been watching? You know, how long have you been in the gym watching, picking up knowledge from your old man to now sort of, you know, be able to sort of emulate what he does and do your own thing almost?
I remember being in the gym like when I was a kid. Like I remember getting up there, like even with my dad, had the likes of Danny Williams and Takaloo and all them boys, like back in the day. And I was only young, like they used to train at the Cronk over in North London. And I just remember used to sitting on the side of the ring, like the apron, whatever. And I used to just watch, and then I don't know, like as you get older or whatever, you just like, you know, like most like boys sort of going to work with their dad. Like if my dad was a builder, I'd have probably been a bricklayer. But as he was, you know, a trainer, I just sort of, you know, like got more involved, and this is what I want to do. I want to be involved in like professional boxing, and that was really the start of it, really. And now, I work with him like day in, day out.
Absolutely. Just one thing I wanted to touch on about James DeGale. I want to ask this question pretty straightforwardly. A lot of people sort of say that in the second half of the fight, he takes his foot off. Maybe he gasses a little bit. What can we say about that? Because I know his conditioning is good. I know that does he train in an oxygen chamber sometimes?
Yeah, he trains at high altitude. I would fights. They say he took his foot off the gas in with the Dirrell fight. Even in the corner, he was saying like, you know, like I won the first round. I've knocked him down twice in the second round. I'm like 4 points up going into the third round. Then he won the third, fourth, and fifth. So even in the corner, he's got such an amazing, like, you know, boxing brain. He said, I'm absolutely skating this at the moment. So without even, he shouldn't do it really, but he's that good. He can have rounds off at world level. And even in the Butte fight, he come out first 3 rounds like an absolute lunatic. Then he picked up a cut. I think it was the fourth or fifth round, and he sort of like changed tactics a bit. He boxed, and even when I've listened back to it on the telly and stuff, I don't think the commentary done him no favours. Showtime in America made him win by 6 rounds, and our panel had it a draw. And then the official scorecards, 2 was by 6 and 1 was by 4. So when you look at it like that, it's sort of a one-sided fight. But no, he's in real good condition. I can assure you, he gets absolutely beasted. And I've seen you know 15 rounds in the gym, like no problem, like not even blowing. He's a supreme athlete. He really is.
And of course, we've seen him, you know, fight in America for the vacant title. Then we've seen him on the road again in Montreal. Oh no, sorry, not Montreal, in Quebec, Canada.
In Quebec, yeah.
Will we see him on the road in his next fight, or is it likely to be back over here?
My honest answer is I don't know. I really don't know what's happening. I know the IBF have enforced his mandatory, and I know he has to obligate that, I think. But as to where it's going to be, I have no idea. Whether that will be his next fight, like, well, they've ordered it, but I don't know how soon they're going to order it for or whatever. But I'm sure we will see him back on UK shores, definitely.
And another thing I wanted to say, of course, as you said earlier, as we touched on the George Groves decision, I'm going to call it decision, that he got in his favour over James. Is that a fight that Team DeGale is still interested in? Because since that fight, it seems that George Groves, of course, he was at the top of British boxing whilst he was in the same bracket as Carl Froch twice.
Yeah.
The first one very unjustly, but again, his credibility sort of fallen a little bit, especially after losing to Badu Jack. At the moment, I think that, in my opinion anyway, DeGale's stock has risen and Groves' stock has kind of gone down. Is that still a fight that James DeGale wants?
Well, when the decision went to George Groves that night, it was obviously very down because it was a big, sort of like fight. It was a lot on the line, more bragging rights more than anything because they was obviously from the same club and stuff. But I always knew, and I think everyone always knew in the camp, that we knew what James was going to go on to achieve. And it was, in the amateurs, it was the same thing. He went on and won an Olympic gold medal. And even now in the pros, he's gone on and won a professional world title. He's the first and only fighter from this country to do it. George Groves, the fight would always be a big fight, but right now, it's all down to George Groves. George Groves has to put a few wins together, obviously, and if he can win a version of a world title, then obviously that's a massive down the line. Right now, I don't think the fight really means anything because there's bigger fights out there, i.e. Badu Jack. There's some talks of Chavez. These are big fights. But no, he can come back again. I'm looking forward to watching him on the weekend, Groves. To see how he comes back. But I mean, only he knows, in his head, whether he believes he's going to come back and win a world title. But he seems like a mentally strong kid. So we just have to wait and see. But the fight will always be big. But right now, it just doesn't make sense. But who knows?
And the last thing I'm going to ask you before I let you go, ideally, who would you like to see? Forget about the mandatory for a moment, just in a fantasy world. Who would you like to see James DeGale in with in his next two fights? I'll say.
In his next two fights, I would like James DeGale to box Badu Jack to unify the division, to unify the WBC and the IBF, and then I would like him to box. Probably Chavez is a big name. If he was still about, back in the day, when he had the belt, I think the Carl Froch fight would have been a fight. But right now on current fighters, I would pick Badu Jack first, then Chavez second.
Okay, brilliant. Not really giving him any easy touches there.
That's it. He's never done it easy anyway, has he? He's always done it on the road.
Brilliant, excellent. Okay, Jimmy. Well, I'm going to say I wish you the best of luck for Saturday. Of course, I hope that your prospects remain unbeaten. I'm sure that they will do, and hopefully we speak to you soon.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
No problem. Take care.
Thanks, mate.
Okay, now it's time for part two. This part, of course, is called the preview part. We're going to preview the fights. Again, there's a few fights on this weekend. There's not many, if I'm being totally honest. There's a card in Canada. There's a card that we're going to mention in China. And, of course, there's a card over here. So there's 3 cards that we're going to mention. We're just going to sort of whiz through this, and then we're going to bring on our second guest, of course. We're going to start with the clash in China. There's just one fight I want to mention. Zhu Shiming, he's out again. Of course, Zhu Shiming, 6 wins and 1 loss. He fights for the vacant WBO international flyweight title. He faces Nathan Santana Coutinho, a boxer I don't know much about, if I'm being totally honest, but he's got a record of 12 wins, no losses, no draws, so 12 wins, unbeaten. So that should be a decent clash for Zhu Shiming. We're going to move over now to Canada, to Montreal, Quebec. Sergey Kovalev. He faces Jean Pascal in the rematch. That's at the top of the bill. That'll be interesting. Of course, that's for the IBF world title, the WBA Super World Light Heavyweight title, and of course the WBO World Light Heavyweight title. Kovalev made pretty easy work, in my opinion, of Pascal in the first fight. Kovalev, of course, 28 wins, 1 draw. Jean Pascal, 30 wins, 3 losses and 1 draw. How do you see this fight playing out, Ayaz?
I see Kovalev knocking Pascal out, in my opinion.
Yeah. I think so too. There's a lot of fights that sort of happen, and then you see it end, and then everyone wants a rematch. Everyone wants to see a rematch. This is not one of those fights in my opinion. He fought him in 2015. He's now fighting him in 2016. It was an 8th round TKO when they faced each other before. I personally don't think this was a fight that we wanted to see a rematch of. I think Pascal, to be totally honest, he's a great fighter, by the way, but I think his best days are behind him. He's got one win since the loss to Kovalev, the knockout loss to Kovalev. That was a fight which was very, very close. He fought a guy called Unieski Gonzalez, and he literally won the fight on all 3 judges' scorecards, 96-94. Right, so if they would have and it was only a 10-rounder, of course. So basically, he won 6 rounds, the other guy won 4 rounds. So if a couple of those judges gave it 1 round to the other guy, it would have been a draw. Okay, so not a very impressive fight. And that Unieski Gonzalez, who he fought, he's lost since then as well. His record now is 16 wins and 2 losses. So again, not much. I don't know much about him, I'll be totally honest with you, but he hasn't looked very impressive in that fight, to be honest, Jean Pascal. So to get knocked out by Kovalev, then fight a guy and not really look impressive and just win it by a couple of rounds, and then jump straight back in there with Kovalev, who, again, since that fight with Jean Pascal, he's picked up another knockout, which was in the 3rd round. He put his guy down in round 2 and round 3. That was Najib Mohammadi. This is another easy win for me, to be totally honest, for Pascal. For Kovalev, of course. And I think that Kovalev will probably take him out earlier than the 8th round this time, in my opinion. Ayaz, what do you think about that? Earlier than the 8th round or not?
7th round, in my opinion.
7th round, okay. Interesting. I'm going to go with round 5. You go with round 7. We'll see who gets closer. Watch when it's round 6.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see who goes closer next week. So another win, I think that's going to be for Kovalev. But the real fight we want to see is Kovalev against Adonis Stevenson, don't we, Ayaz? How much of an absolute super fight would that be?
That would be a brilliant fight. But another fight we would like to see is Andre Ward versus Sergey Kovalev.
Yeah, again, that would be good. That would be good. We could sit here all day talking about that. In my opinion, that would be such a good fight. I'm not even going to give my opinion. We're going to move straight over to the undercard. Joel Diaz Jr., 20-0, I believe with 16 knockouts. He's facing Abraham Gomez. Abraham Gomez, 22 wins, 11 losses, 1 draw. This should be another look good fight for Joel Diaz Jr. And Joel Diaz Jr. is nothing to do with the trainer Joel Diaz, nothing to do with him at all. He's just another fighter doing his thing from America, and it's a good opportunity for him, so we wish him the best of luck. That's in the super featherweight division. It's only an 8-rounder. And moving over now to the big card over here, there's a few fights on this bill, if I'm totally honest. There's a few good fights. John Ryder on the bill, of course. We're going to start with his fight against Sergey Khomitsky. Sergey Khomitsky, somebody that knocked out Frank Buglioni, somebody that knocked out Adam Etches. He really does carry a big punch. His record's not fantastic looking when you look at it on paper, but fights aren't fought on paper. Sergey Khomitsky, 30 wins, 12 losses, 3 draws. John Ryder, 21 wins and 2 losses. This is for the vacant WBA International Middleweight title. John Ryder, it's a really tough fight, this fight. I know that we've seen John Ryder in a few wars lately. Apparently, he's looking really good in the gym at the moment. How do you see this one going, Ayaz? Because Sergey Khomitsky's come over here and knocked out 2 of our prospects, really.
Well, this is a 50-50 fight, and this is a make or break fight for John Ryder now, in my opinion. So I'm really, in my opinion, as it's in London, I'm going to go for a John Ryder win.
I really hope so. I really do hope so. I know that John Ryder's a good guy, and I wish him all the best for this. But again, very, very dangerous opponent in Sergey Khomitsky. He loves coming over here and knocking out our boys. Moving down that card, of course, we spoke to him last week. He was on our show. Tommy Martin, 13-0. He faces John Wayne Hibbert. John Wayne Hibbert is the champion, so I should have said that the other way around. But John Wayne Hibbert, 16 wins and 3 losses. This is for the Commonwealth Super Lightweight title. Of course, that title is also known as the 140 title. This should be a really good fight. We've seen John Wayne Hibbert face off against the likes of Dave Ryan, and he really can go down in the trenches and have a complete out-and-out war. We haven't seen that thus far from Tommy Martin. It doesn't mean that he doesn't have it in his arsenal. In the bookies, Tommy Martin is the favourite in this fight, although John Wayne Hibbert is the champion. So this one should be really, really interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing that. And of course, the big fight on the bill, the return of the Saint, George Groves. He's back after his loss to Badu Jack. He faces Andrea De Luisa. George Groves, 21 wins, 3 losses. Andrea De Luisa, 18 wins and 3 losses. This is someone who we cannot overlook here, Ayaz, because Andre De Luisa has actually got a decent resume himself. He's only lost to the top guys in the division. What do you think that the Saint has got to offer us now? Now after losing three title fights really in the last year or so, couple of years.
I reckon obviously George Groves is back, but now he's got a new trainer, Shane McGuigan, who he's training the likes of David Hitt and IBF champion Carl Frampton. So I reckon, in my opinion, we're going to see a new George Groves in this fight.
Yeah, his opponent, as I say, Andrea De Luisa, he lost in August of 2015. He got TKO'd in the 4th round by Lucian Bute. In 2012, he lost to Christopher Abras, who again we saw George Groves beat on it was 12 rounds that fight, and Andrea De Luisa, he retired at the end of the 7th round to Abras. And also he picked up another loss in 2011. That was to Muhammad Ali Ndiaye. This was for the vacant EBU European Super-Middleweight title. So, he has lost he's lost in tough fights, basically. And from his 18 wins, he's picked up 14 knockouts. So this should be quite a shootout, you know. Of course, we know that George Groves is a big puncher as well, and it'll be interesting seeing him under Shane McGuigan, of course. We know that since he sort of teamed up with Paddy Fitzpatrick, I don't want to say he didn't really show any power, because remember, he knocked Froch down in the 1st round of their fight. Then he got knocked out. Then he fought Rebrase. He didn't knock him down. He was a tough guy, a really tough guy who came to win. Of course, he knocked out Dennis Duglin, and then he lost to Badu Jack, and now he's got this fight. So it'll be interesting to see. And of course, George Groves, 21 wins, 16 of those wins by knockout. So 2 big punches in there. It should be quite interesting whilst it lasts. We're now going to move over to the other fights on that undercard. We already mentioned 2 of them. I just want to go down to Martin Ward. Martin Ward faces Mario Pisanti. This is for the WBC International Super Featherweight title. Martin Ward, 12 wins and 2 draws. Mario Pisanti, 16 wins, 2 losses and 1 draw. That should be a decent fight. Also on that bill, Leon McKenzie, of course, the footballer turned boxer. He's at the moment, he's at 7 wins, 0 losses and 1 draw. He looks to pick up his 8th win. He faces Kelvin Young, who's vastly experienced, to be totally honest. 17 wins, 4 losses and 2 draws. Reece Bellotti also on the card. He looks to move to 5-0. He faces a guy called Elvis Guillen. That'll be interesting. O'Hara Davies also on the bill. He looks to pick up his 10th professional win. He faces a guy called Prince Ofotsu. Ted Cheeseman, he's also on the bill. He's only in his 3rd outing. He looks to move to 3-0, of course. Dion Juma, he's over here now. I believe this is his first fight in Britain. Despite being British, this is his first fight on our shores. He looks to move to 8-0. It's just a little 6-rounder in the light heavyweight division. Louis Adolphi's also on the bill. He looks to move to 4-0. Lucian Reed, and of course Craig Richards is also on the bill. So a lot to look forward to on that Saturday night, Ayaz. Not just the George Groves fight. There's a few decent trade fights on the undercard there.
Well, I just want to see the George Groves. I want to see the card, yeah. The Sergey Khomitsky versus John Ryder. But I'm going to be more paying attention to the George Groves fight. Just want to see how he looks as a new fighter with his new trainer.
Absolutely. And I'm also looking to see Dion Juma. We haven't really seen anything of him on TV, I don't believe. It'd be interesting. Again, he's one of our Brits that is signed with the Sauerlands. He's fought in Germany, I think 2 or 3 times, and he's fought in Denmark, I think maybe 3 or 4 times. And for the first time, he's on the bill in Britain, of course. So that should be interesting. Was there any other news at all that you had for us, Ayaz? Because I think there was one thing that you forgot.
Yeah, Brandon Rios actually split up with his trainer Robert Garcia today.
Yeah, right. That's right. Yeah, I think it was just late last night. We got wind of it over here. I am someone that has watched a lot of videos on Brandon Rios, and I know that Brandon Rios had an absolutely close-knit relationship with Robert Garcia. They were literally like best friends. They were like father and son. They got on like a house on fire. So I really don't know what's gone on for this to happen. Apparently they're still friends, but they've just decided to part ways. It'll be interesting. It will be interesting. If you ever watch any videos, Eli Sekbak, give credit to him. He's doing a lot of videos in their gym, and you can see in the gym how much of a great atmosphere there is in there. But there's a lot of joking, laughing and joking going on in that gym. And I always sort of look at it and think, how much work do they really get done? They're always sitting down and busting jokes. I'm not knocking Robert Garcia, because I think Robert Garcia, the way he conducts his gym and his fighters, it really is good. You know, he's got a lot of good fighters. He's had the likes of Nonito Donaire, Maidana, Brandon Rios, as we said. He had a little spell with the guy who Lee Selby beat, Evgeny Gradovich. He's worked with Mike Perez, the heavyweight. He's done he's helped a lot of fighters come through. So I think he's a really good trainer. I mean, maybe the videos that I've seen, maybe they're only being shot when all the boxers are on a break and they're not training properly and they're not deep down in training camp. Maybe he knows when it's time to stop the jokes. But it'll be interesting, because the Brandon Rios that we've seen turn up to his last few fights just hasn't been the Brandon Rios of old. Or is he just plain and simply past his best? And Maidana, is he past his best? You just don't know. I'm not really going to knock Robert Garcia for this, because actually the guy himself is a really, really good guy. Of course, his brother's on the intro. As soon as the show starts, he says, "Hi, I'm Mikey Garcia." That's his brother. So we're not going to knock him here. A lot of respect to Robert Garcia. I think that's really it for part 2. I think it's now time to welcome on our second guest. Okay, now it's time for our second guest. And of course, there was one fight that we didn't mention on the undercard of George Groves. The reason why we didn't mention it is because the man's here on our show right now. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Ben Hall. Ben, welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you, mate. Thank you for having me.
No problem. Yeah, we're all good. We're all good. I just wanted to say, of course, you've only boxed in 2 venues in your 8 contests. That's York Hall and the O2 Arena. You're now going to be fighting at the Copper Box on Saturday. What does it mean to you to be boxing on the undercard of George Groves, Ben?
Oh, it's massive. You know, that's a good point you said there. I didn't really know if I've only actually been into venues. But yeah, it's good to explore different venues. You know, put for profile and get my face out there more public. And George Groves is, I think he's one of most people's top fighters in the country. So it's an absolute honour and privilege to be on the same show as him. And so one day I hope I can be in a position he's in.
Have you ever been to that arena before, even just as a fan or to look at it at all?
I haven't. No, I've watched it on the TV. I believe it was the Amateur Championship there. I had a little look at it then, but I haven't actually been there yet. I think I'll have a look at it tomorrow. I've got a little press conference to go to, and I think I'll have a little nose up there if I can. Yeah,
no, it is a nice, cosy little venue. Actually, you should enjoy that. Now, of course, this is your. Yeah, I've been there on a couple of occasions. Yeah, I think Derek Chisora fought there a couple of times. Tyson Fury fought there once. It's decent. Yeah. This is going to be your second 10-rounder. This is, of course, for the Southern Area title. You've sort of moved on to 10 rounds pretty quickly, if you don't mind me saying. Do you like 10 rounds better than the 4s and 6s and the 8s?
I do, yeah. I actually skipped 8 rounds. I went straight for 6 or 10. You know, I do prefer it, you know, because just less pressure. You've got more time in there. You've got more time, more relaxed. If things go wrong, if things go great, you've got more time to go and channel it to the right result. So you just much more stressed, much more relaxed. And I'm a big puncher myself, so over the 10 rounds, and I like to think about it'll break them down the amount of power I've got. And I'm also a good body puncher, so I think I'll break people down over them. So yeah, I do prefer it.
That's something I just wanted to touch on. Saying that you're a big puncher, you've got the 1 KO in your record. I just wanted to say, because a lot of people, people turn pro and the fans want knockouts, and then if you get them out of there too quick, then you need rounds. You seem to sort of be going at your own pace, and one that you're not really looking to impress anybody. You're just out there getting the rounds in, doing the smart thing, and probably saving the impressing to the big fights.
That's exactly right. I don't go out there to impress anyone. Well, I've got to impress myself and my team. So I don't worry about pleasing the crowd. But in respect to my power, if you look into the record, I've had 6 fans in my 8 fights. So it just shows I need to work my finishing game slightly. It's hard when you get in and know you've hurt people, and then when you find there's a bit less opposition, you go into survival mode. I think in fighters like my last opponent, Austin Jolly, I had him hurt and I landed good shots. He was there to win, and also with Chris Adjadua, he's going to be there to win. He's going to be fighting with me. And I believe I'll catch him, and I believe I will take him out.
Absolutely.
Be there to win. Yeah, that's the main thing. Yeah, that's what I want. I'm a good counter puncher, so I make it needs to make people pay. And if they're coming to fight and difficult on me and have a go, it's paying for my own.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the right mentality to have. Of course, you're at 154 at the minute. Is this a weight that you're looking to stay at, or will you be moving up in the near future?
It's hard to say. I'm 22 years old, so I'm young, I'm maturing, getting bigger and stronger all the time. But if you would have asked me that question before my last fight, I probably would have said I'll probably move up in a couple of years. But this time round, I've made the weight terrific. I've had a check weigh-in today, just weighed in 11.2. So I'm doing only on the weight now. I'm just learning as I'm going on and learning about my body, learning about certain foods that work for me, what don't work for me, and because of that, my weight's much more better this time, and I think I'll be comfortable light middle for a little while. Yeah.
Okay, brilliant.
I've established myself for that weight.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that sounds about right. I just wanted to touch on what sort of boxers have you sparred with, Ben?
I've sparred top fighters all around the world. I sparred obviously with John Ryder. I've sparred with Ted Friedman. I sparred with a couple of Tyler Bridges. I sparred with the fighter from Marbella, 11 rounds Martinez, world title level. I sparred with him a few times. Who else have I sparred with? I sparred also Chris Adjadua on fighting, but not this camp, but I sparred with him. It's countless sparred. I couldn't even say. There's loads. Aaron Morgan I sparred with, was a good fighter. I can't even say there's loads of fighters. I've just sort of lost count, but I've sparred at a high level. I've been at world class level in sparring, but obviously it's a lot different on the night and things like that. I've gained experience from fighting sparring top level fighters, and I've learned from them. And now I've moulded it. I picked up little bits of everyone. I've moulded into my own little style.
Definitely. I just wanted to touch on John Ryder. He's got a sort of tough fight. I mean, he fights Sergey Khomitsky. Of course, Khomitsky's record doesn't really look amazing, but we know what he can do. He's been over here a few times and knocked out prospects. How do you see his fight going with John Ryder?
Yeah, me and John have done hundreds of rounds together all the time, so I know John inside that, and I sparred him a long time ago, and I've sparred him up to now, and I'm not just saying it, but right now, it's the sharpest I've ever seen him. He's much more alert, he's more on the ball, and I really think he's done different things with his diet and that now, and I just really think he's going to be the best John Ryder. Yes, it is a hard fight. I mean, not going to say it's not a hard fight, but it's a fight John is capable of winning. I know they've got a game plan to stick to, and I think if they do stick to that, I think John's going to get the win and look impressive. So doing so.
We all hope so, for sure. In your opinion, is Liam Smith the top boy at 154 in our country at the moment?
Yes, I think he is. I do like Liam Smith. I think he's a good fighter. And it's brilliant. The world title is over here, so it's great motivation for me for one day to get. To get onto that. But yeah, I do rate Liam Smith. I think he's probably the top fighter. Who else is good? Alice Patterson's a pretty good fighter we just saw recently, and Liam Williams, the British champion. I think they're a really good name. There's a few other good prospects up and coming as well now, but they're the three. Definitely the two big names. I'd probably say Liam Williams and Liam Smith.
The two Liams. And something else I wanted to touch on. I've seen recently on Twitter that the two Bennies have met up. I see that you've done a few things with Benny Banks, the rapper. How did that come about?
Yeah, that's quite funny. That's a random one from this. My manager and trainer, Peter Sims, he knows quite a few people, and his Benny Banks management got in contact with Peter. They're looking for a boxer to part in his new music video coming up. He's got a new track coming out, which is pretty good. And they asked me to do a load of pads in that while doing so. But there's a few other pads involved as well, like Lucian Reed, Craig Richards, and I think Tony Converse was involved in it as well. But there's quite a big thing of me in there doing pads and things like that. So it's good publicity for me, really. And Benny Banks seemed like a right nice kid. He's right down to earth, and it's a pleasure to work with someone who's got the same sort of motivation as me to do well in life.
Now, the last thing I'm going to ask you before I let you go, Ben, and thank you very much for giving me a bit of your time so close to the fight. The last thing I'm going to ask you is, if it was down to you, which fantasy fight, of course, when I say fantasy, I mean realistic as well. I mean a fight that could take place in 2016. Anyone, whether it's Mayweather Khan, whether it's Kell Brook Amir Khan, whether it's Tyson Fury Klitschko 2, what is the fight, any division that you'd like to see this year?
I think that's the big Taylor Alvarez and Golovkin. I think they're the two probably the best pound-for-pound fighters out there today. I think both of them have got phenomenal power. Golovkin's probably the bigger puncher, but say Taylor Alvarez is a light middleweight, but he looks massive for the weight. So I don't think there'll be too much of a size difference really. So I think it could be done, but obviously there's a politics to it and things like that. But that is a dream fight for me to watch. To star-wise, that's exactly what I'd love to fight. Our dream to fight like this. They're real fighters. They come to fight, and they've got the skills also to come with it.
When you said that, the hairs on the back of my neck stood up. Who do you think would win that fight, Ben?
Good question. Before I watched the Canelo Alvarez and Miguel Cotto fight, I probably leaned towards Golovkin. I think he's punched too hard, but Canelo Alvarez just gets better and better. We need a young fighter. He keeps getting better and better, and I think he could beat him. I don't know. I think I probably lean towards Golovkin. I think Golovkin could end up. I think it would be a good fight up until that point. Yeah.
Okay, excellent stuff. Okay, Ben, well, I wish you the absolute best of luck on Saturday. I should be there, so I may see you just before the fight or so. And I hope that you remain unbeaten and get a good win.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, mate. Appreciate your time.
No problem. We speak to you soon.
Bye, mate. Thank you.
Okay, unfortunately, that's all we've got time for on episode 17 of the BoxHard Podcast. I've been your host, Joey Coastman. Ayaz Sumra has been Ayaz Sumra. Big thank you to our guests this week, of course, Ben Hall and, of course, Jimmy Mack Jr. Please follow, please retweet, please share, please like, and we will be back next week with another buster of a show. Thank you very much.